Amazing. Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here today for, I believe, the first fireside chat of the day. And we were just chatting here. It's probably a very rare occasion of a full female panel at the Web3 conference. So I'm very looking forward to this discussion today. I know we got a very kind introduction, but if we start off with a bit of a personal intro, I think it would get everyone a bit of an idea of who we are. My name is Alnura Belyalova. I'm a director of PR at Luna PR. We are PR and a communications agency that's been connecting tomorrow's technology with today's audiences in the Web3 world since 2017. I'd love for my great panelists to introduce themselves as well.
Is it on? Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for being here today with us. Glad to start stage with these two amazing women together with me. I'm Serena Sebastiani. I lead our PwC virtual asset business for the Middle East. We support regulators, banks, and service providers in developing a sustainable ecosystem within the region and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Serena. Very happy to be here on stage with you as well. My name is Myriam. I am leading crypto risk and innovation for Mastercard, looking at some of our products and acquisitions in the crypto space in Eastern Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Mastercard is in the crypto space now for years, and we are trying to achieve that balance between promoting crypto acceptance, but also looking at compliance and empowering the ecosystem to remain compliant.
Amazing. Well, please, a round of applause for the panelists that we have with us today. Thank you so much. We'll get straight to it. I think we have a very general topic today about blockchain, but I actually want to start off with a question of, whenever people speak about blockchain, straight away the synonym for blockchain is crypto, which is only just one part of the use case of the blockchain technology. The question for both of you is, will this ever change? Will we ever be able to focus on other facets and other solutions that blockchain has to offer? And if we do, what is going to be the tipping point for us to shift the conversation a little bit? Serena, if you'd like to start.
You know, I mean, crypto for sure has been the trailblazer, right, for years now, and started with Bitcoin and then followed by others. I think what is really relevant now is stable coins, really becoming mainstream. Market cap is $160 billion, obviously led by Tether, 110, and Second Circle. The use cases are massive, actually can disrupt the world of payments, but they're kind of dealing with that, I guess. Cross-border payments, remittances, you know, intra-bank, intra-company payments, literally everything. And we have seen the recent partnership between Tether and Orbit and Town Foundation, right? So we can now actually tap pay with our Orbit using Tether through Telegram. And this is stunning, it's revolutionary. So it's fast, it's cheap, it's reliable. So I really see stables as the immediate game changer, especially on payments, also on trading as well, right? Then if we really look at disruption and how we can actually leverage blockchain beyond, also beyond financial sector, right? It's maybe more like adoption of blockchain across different industries, supply chain, secure trade, right? But even smart contract and interoperability of smart contract and trust. So yeah, I think like it's really like using and leveraging blockchain beyond the financial sector and making the entire world a little bit more decentralized.
Absolutely. No, thank you so much, Serena. Serena touched upon the payments, the big elephant in the room. Myriam, what are your thoughts on the development of the blockchain applications?
So Web 3.0 as a paradigm aims to empower people over their identity, over their data, over their claim, over their assets, right? So as such, there are a lot of use cases that could be thought of. And so from, for example, monetizing a digital piece of art and notarizing its existence and perceiving royalties over it, to transferring digital collectibles, or notarizing and creating actually, or tokenizing real estate and exchanging its ownership, or participating to a decentralized governance and voting, or just accessing personalized digital services. There are a lot of things that could be thought of, but you are very right into saying that today crypto is the most visible use case. I think more fundamentally, what is behind the Web 3.0 kind of a promise is leaning or shifting towards a more transparent and inclusive internet, right? So there are building blocks to it. We are not there yet, but there are building blocks to it. And for example, what comes to my mind is digital identity. Digital identity is very important and paramount to achieve actually real decentralization, and being able to link identity to ownership and claim and assets. Interoperability between blockchains is also another challenge to overcome. Consumer protection, I think it's very important. It's very interesting, and I also like to dream about a fully decentralized world, right? But to the moment where you are victim of a theft or a scam or something, and at that time you actually want to turn to institutions, right, to kind of initiate a chargeback or raise a dispute, right? So all these are things that we need to think of for the blockchain actually to be able to unlock its potential.
Thank you so much. Thank you. No, absolutely. I think I agree with both of you. And Myriam, you touched upon an interesting point. Web3 brings this utopian notion of decentralization. And I think we are all for it until there is a problem, until we really wish there was a very centralized customer service that could support us. That actually leads me to my next question. With all the decentralization and kind of peer-to-peerness of blockchain, it's been very interesting the past couple of months when the whole industry was very excited to welcome an enormous amount of institutional, very centralized involvement in the form of Bitcoin ETFs. How do you think, and I'd love to hear from both of you, does that tip the scales of decentralization? Are we completely moving away from it, or are we finding a new balance in the Web3 industry?
Maybe I'll start. I mean, this is a very challenging one, right? Because are we here to blame the big dogs and supporting our dream decentralized world, or are we actually going for adoption? So maybe reality is a bit in between, right? I mean, we are all here, and we are all in the crypto space, I guess, if we are here. So maybe we wouldn't be the typical person getting into the ETF. Reality is that the normal people that we see at the London metro station do not know even what Bitcoin is, right? So for those mass, actually these type of products enable higher adoption. And it's beneficial for us as well. It's beneficial for the crypto community. So I think it's maybe a bit in. It's not something that actually disrupt Web3 and the idea of decentralized world that we have. Is really packaging products into a financial product, which is an ETF, which is accessible to all through any single channel, through your bank account, through your BlackRock account, and so on. So it also actually supports education and awareness, right?
All of a sudden, everyone's speaking about Bitcoin.
Yeah, exactly, right? And became really top of any headline. So. Yeah, I mean, I don't see that as a real challenge. Also, bigger institutional eventually look for yield, right? And either you go for ET or there is not yield into Bitcoin, and the ETF might be a good compromise. Although, I mean, again, costs to be considered are high, management cost. But in terms of adoption, in terms of raising awareness, education, I think eventually we'll support the entire industry.
Interesting. So necessary evil for now will probably lead to greater good in the long term. Myriam, what are your thoughts?
I do also believe that so traditional finance embracing blockchain and embracing crypto is a step forward towards mainstream adoption, right? In the same way where the approval of a Bitcoin ETF was the very good news for the crypto community, and everyone was happy about it because it enabled to inject more institutional fund into crypto. It enabled to bring more people to crypto, right? And in the same way, I do believe that financial institutions proposing crypto to their customers, and I'm talking here about banks selling crypto to their customer, which is something that as Mastercard we are enabling today, is also can seem as a little bit counterintuitive. I agree with you, but if any, I think some people are frustrated by the fact that traditional finance is coming into blockchain. I am a little bit frustrated by the fact that blockchain is not gaining traction in fast enough in traditional finance, because there are a lot of benefits in it. And I think in that these will coexist, and these will potentially touch different populations, right? There will be people who will always want to transact with DeFi or with centralized exchanges, and there are some other people who would prefer to have a little bit more certainty working with their own banks, right? And there are statistics today that show that there are people who prefer actually owning crypto if they can hold it in their bank account, right? So I think that they will coexist, right? And potentially there will be always innovation coming from DeFi, and you can have also traditional finance moving forward with adoption, and this is a great synergy.
Nice. So coexistence of two different worlds. They're not really enemies. Essentially, it's about bringing a new solution to a set of customers. Really love your insights there. I think my next question is coming back to taking a step back from like crypto and just digital assets per se, and coming back to blockchain. I think a lot of the times when we mention the word blockchain, we just assume that we're talking about a publicly distributed ledger. That's kind of the classic general understanding of blockchain. What we see, though, in real life, especially when it comes to maybe more traditional institutions, when they come to adopting blockchain, they take a bit of a Web2 approach to it. Private blockchains, for example, have been a prime example of, I think, a good balance between still giving all the privacy and control to an entity, but making use of all the efficacy and the efficiency that blockchain can bring. I think JP Morgan has been very famous for the private blockchain that they've used globally. My question is, do you think this is just a stage in the Web3 development, or are we going to find ourselves in this constant, maybe symbiotic state of it's not really Web 2, it's not really Web 3, but it's always going to be Web 2.5? Myriam, if you want to get a start on that one.
I think the choice of the blockchain, whether it is private or public, is really dependent on the use case, right? And the level of trust between the network participants. So as you said, a private blockchain can bring to a certain network of participants efficiency, but also control and programmability, right? And these are things that are very important if you are looking at use cases where compliance, but also privacy are very important. So think of, I don't know, exchanging healthcare data or something like that, right? So there will be always use cases where private blockchain is more suitable, and on the other hand, public blockchain bring more transparency and immutability, right? So, for example, crypto being a use case of private blockchain is a perfect illustration of that, right? So, sorry, public blockchain is a good illustration of that. So again, I think that they will coexist depending on the use case, and There are also more and more hybrid, approaches to it, building on the strengths of both, but maybe having data outside of the blockchain, but footprint of the transaction in the blockchain. So we see things that are a little bit hybrid like that emerging and capitalizing on the strength of both technologies.
Interesting. Serena, what are your thoughts?
I hope permission blockchain won't actually take over. I really hope no. I agree with Myriam, right? I mean, there are different use cases. Obviously, central banks building on a local CBDC would rely more on a permission blockchain, a private blockchain. Enterprises within enterprises, the case of JP Morgan, you did, obviously might want and will want a permission closed blockchain. For anything else, I would always rely on a public permissionless blockchain, transparency, immutability, the foundations of blockchain are those, and and that's the reason why we are in the Web3 space, right? So very limited use case for permission blockchain for me that are really like contained into privacy concerns and national interest concerns.
Interesting. So I think the answer is almost to each their own, depending on the use case, depending on the situation. Blockchain technology can be adopted in different ways. There isn't really one general solution for everyone. Coming back to something, Myriam, you mentioned at the very beginning when you said we all are up for decentralization until something goes wrong. It's actually quite interesting. I think a great example of that is the centralized exchange versus a decentralized exchange. And I think up until today, can I have a rise of hands who has a centralized exchange account? Who is trading on a centralized exchange? Amazing. A few hands out there. Who uses a decentralized wallet to trade crypto? Oh. This is actually the first time. There is a bit of a 50-50 in the room. Well done, guys. You are the proper Web3 guys. A lot of the times when I come into the room, even when it's a crypto conference, a lot more people have a centralized exchange and are very familiar with it, but are still shying away from a decentralized version of it. And usually the answer isn't really philosophical. It's not really about what I believe in. It's more about the silly and the obvious. Customer service. If something goes wrong, I want to be able to go and have a fight with someone. So how do we find that balance, essentially? How can we offer that efficiency of decentralization, that fairness, that justice, that transparency, but at the same time keep all of the centralized, perks that we're so used to, customer service and things like that. Serena, what are your thoughts? Is it a tech solution, or is it about educating people?
Yeah, it's a bit about both, right? For me, DeFi continues building innovation and bringing innovation into this space. And what's that been there for so far, and what's there continue to be there as of now. This room is very peculiar. I agree with you. But I mean, we are at a very specific crypto conference. I think, most of the cases, myself in premise, my predominance is centralized exchange, right? 80% of what I do is centralized, actually. And the reason is what you said, right? User experience. So trivial. No, there are a number of solutions that are actually hybrid, and even centralized exchanges. You go to HogAX and Crypto.com. Their decentralized solutions, their DeFi solutions and wallets are actually pretty good. MetaMask is stunning. The rest really requires a lot of education, a lot of awareness, and I'm quite confident that as DeFi is able to build and bring innovation, they will also be able to make UX a bit more,
Friendly,
yeah,
usable.
friendly, exactly.
For sure, user experience. Myriam, what are your thoughts?
I heard today that full decentralization is an utopia, right? And I don't know if I agree with it, but I know that we are still few decades from full decentralization. And I think the reason behind it is quite obvious, right? For you to be able to trust a DeFi protocol, you need to trust its smart contract. And for you to be able to trust this smart contract, you need to understand your smart contract, which is something that people like me, for instance, would not be able to do. So I can, for example, think that in the future, or maybe in the near future, there will be actually, I don't know, mechanism of validation, certification, or regulation of those smart contracts. But meanwhile, we still want to turn into centralized exchanges or financial institution or fintech because of the reason that you have very rightly mentioned, that you have a better user experience, you have a better access to a certain extent, to consumer protection. You have people you can talk to in case there is a problem. So I do believe, and I feel really that I'm repeating myself here, but there is, like across the spectrum, I think that there will be use cases and a target audience for each of these, participants of this industry, from like exchanges to banks to centralized exchanges to DeFi, etc. There will be people who will be more attracted into a certain category based on their risk appetite and based also on their tech savviness.
Interesting. So it's a matter of consistent coexisting of the two almost connected but a bit different worlds. And it really depends on the consumer or the customer at the end of that channel. So that brings me to probably the favorite question on regulation. It's definitely been a bit of a buzzword for the last year. Regulatory clarity has definitely been the key driver for any business to set up in a specific jurisdiction. I think countries and there are obvious leaders right now in the world that are very welcoming towards Web3 innovation. I think the fact that we are here is not a coincidence at all. But the question is, what is the next maybe challenge for the regulators, right? So there is a bit of clarity. A lot of it is more around exchanges rather than other types of Web3 businesses. So what is the next challenge for the regulators in the world to kind of bring a bit more order to the wild west of crypto? Serena?
This is actually my favorite. I've been a regulator in my life, unfortunately. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I've actually been a regulator in my life for a few years. So I really believe that financial sector and financial system, financial players should be, kept a little bit under scrutiny. We have obvious challenges that are AML issues, frauds. Consumer protection, obviously financial stability, but yeah, we are. You said that, right? We are not here for chances. Dubai is the hub 2.0, and it's actually, I don't know how many of you are actually from the region in the room. Not many, but you're all visiting then. So, and we have just closed. Event season with Token, with FinTech Summit. So many people coming from Hong Kong, Singapore, up 1.0 to Dubai, and actually wishing to relocate here. In terms of investments, funding, access to VC, innovation, economic firepower, regulatory openness, there is no competition globally. And the stunning regulators that we have here, VARA, the first ever established virtual asset only focused regulator around the globe. ADGM, first crypto regulation in 2018. Unique. So, and it's very, very comprehensive across use cases. You're right, maybe there is something else to be done in terms of allowing for new DeFi and going a bit out from the decentralized world. But we are there. I mean, it's really one of the most comprehensive regulation around the world. Next challenges, I think, will be really figuring out how we manage DeFi, DAO, and how we finally come up with something that makes sense for stables, as we have two very, very systemic players, especially one, being the CEO of another Italian, that are actually not regulated at all.
Very interesting. And for those of you who are not based in Dubai yet, I hope that was a good, quick 30 seconds intro into why you should be based in Dubai. But Myriam, what are your thoughts when it comes to regulation?
Regulation of DeFi is really a tricky question, right? I don't think we are there yet in terms of regulatory clarity. I'm talking about DeFi in particular. And I don't want to be in the shoes of the regulators who are working on that, because there is no precedent, right? There is no benchmark. I think the only way to approach that is really to keep a very open mind, to try to understand the technology, to understand the use case. And I'd echo what Serena said. So the fact that, because I don't think you can today apply the regulation in place into the DeFi world, right? That would be the first error to do, right? Which it could be done to a certain extent to crypto and virtual asset, but not to DeFi, because it's completely distorted. This is another paradigm. So the fact that, for example, VARA is a bespoke regulator and the only and first bespoke regulator that has been created for virtual asset, that puts them really in a good place today to look at this with a fresh perspective, with an open mind, and continue what is already being done in UAE, which is engaging in a very close collaboration with the industry and establishing those regulatory sandboxes to try and test, because it's not going to come overnight, right? So it's the only way to do it.
100% agree with you there. I know we're running low on time, so just to finish off, I'd love for each one of you to just, if there was one statement that the audience has to take away from our fireside today, what would it be? Serena.
Thank you first of all for being here. We are a room of game changers, so glad to be part of this. And I think the two words I would leave you with is actually three, maybe, is stable coins, DeFi, and Dubai.
Think about that. Myriam, what is your closing statement?
So it's really, for me, how to strike that very delicate balance between promoting innovation and unlocking the promise of blockchain, of a more transparent and inclusive world and everything, while remaining very vigilant about compliance, about security, about customer protection, and also financial stability is the challenge, I think, today.
Amazing. Thank you so much. Well, if you agree with me, I think it's been a fantastic fireside with wonderful panelists here today. If I can ask for a round of applause for these wonderful ladies here. Thank you so much, everyone.